10,000 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire, before the legends of Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, or Emperor Palpatine ever echoed across the stars, there was a figure whose name would be whispered through the Force for countless generations: Kael Dorin, the Prime Jedi. In the age when the galaxy was still young and the boundaries between light and darkness were just beginning to form, it was Kael Dorin who forged the very foundations of what it meant to be a Jedi. His legacy would ripple through time, shaping the destinies of countless beings and guiding the hands of those who would one day rise to defend the light. In those ancient days, the Force was raw and untamed, a vast ocean of energy waiting to be understood. Many sought to harness its power, but few possessed the wisdom or discipline to wield it responsibly. Kael Dorin was different. Born on an unremarkable world at the edge of the galaxy, he was marked from the beginning by a rare connection to the Force. Even as a child, he sensed the ebb and flow of life around him, the shifting moods of the wind, the gentle pulse of the earth, the quiet wisdom in the eyes of every living creature. The Force spoke to him, and he listened. As Kael grew, so too did his understanding. He wandered the galaxy, seeking out others who felt the call of the Force. Some were healers, some warriors, some scholars. To each, he taught patience, humility, and the importance of harmony. From these early gatherings, the first Jedi Order was born, not as an organization, but as a brotherhood, united by a common purpose, to protect the balance of the Force and preserve peace throughout the galaxy. But where there is light, there must also be shadow. From the ranks of those drawn to the Force emerged one who saw its immense power not as a gift, but as a weapon to be wielded. This being, whose name has been lost to time, was the creator of the Sith, the first Dark Lord. Twisted by ambition and fear, the Dark Lord sought to bend the Force to his will, believing that only through domination could true order be achieved. It was inevitable that Kael Dorin and the Dark Lord would meet. Their conflict would become the stuff of legend, a clash not just of individuals, but of philosophies. The Dark Lord gathered followers, thousands upon thousands, promising them power beyond imagination if they would only submit to the darkness within themselves. Thus, the Sith were born, an army of shadow determined to extinguish the light. The battles that followed were unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Entire worlds became battlegrounds, and the cries of the wounded echoed through the Force. It seemed as if the darkness might consume everything. Yet, in the darkest hour, Kael Dorin stood undaunted. Where others saw only hopelessness, he saw opportunity. A chance to remind the galaxy that the light, though threatened, could never be truly extinguished. On the ancient plains of Jedha, Kael Dorin faced the Dark Lord and his legions in a confrontation that would decide the fate of the galaxy. It is said that as the armies clashed, Kael walked alone into the heart of the enemy, the Force swirling around him like a living storm. Blades of crimson and blue lit the sky, and the ground trembled beneath the sheer power unleashed. But Kael was more than a warrior. He was a master of the living Force itself. He reached out, not with hatred or fear, but with compassion and understanding. To his enemies, he offered a choice: surrender to the darkness within, or embrace the possibility of redemption. Many faltered, their resolve shaken by the purity of his purpose. Some laid down their weapons. Others, consumed by rage, pressed the attack. It was then that Kael revealed the true extent of his mastery. Drawing upon the deepest currents of the Force, he became a beacon of light, his presence illuminating the battlefield. The Dark Lord unleashed every weapon at his disposal, commanding his followers to strike as one. 10,000 Sith converged upon Kael, their hatred a tidal wave intent on erasing him from existence. Yet Kael stood firm. He became the eye of the storm, the calm at the center of chaos. With each movement, he redirected the energy of his foes, turning their anger into emptiness, their aggression into exhaustion. One by one, the Sith fell, overcome not by violence, but by the realization that their power was hollow, a shadow cast by the true light of the Force. At last, Kael and the Dark Lord faced each other, alone amid the ruins of battle. Their duel was fierce, But it was not strength that determined the outcome. It was wisdom, the understanding that the Force is not a tool to be commanded, but a partner to be respected. In a final act of humility, Kael reached out to the Dark Lord, offering him a chance at redemption. But the Dark Lord, consumed by pride, refused and fell, his essence scattering into the void. With the defeat of the first Dark Lord and the dispersal of the Sith, peace returned to the galaxy. But Kael Dorin knew that darkness would one day rise again. To prepare future generations, he gathered his followers and shared with them the greatest secret he had discovered: the path to immortality through the Force. Kael taught that life does not end with death, that consciousness can persist, becoming one with the Force and guiding others from beyond the veil. This knowledge, passed from Kael to his closest disciples, became the foundation of the Jedi's greatest mysteries. Millennia later, it was Kael's teachings that guided Qui-Gon Jinn in his search for life after death. Through meditation and selflessness, Qui-Gon learned to retain his identity beyond the physical world. He would go on to teach Yoda, who taught Obi-Wan Kenobi, who in turn guided Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, during his final moments. Each link in this chain was forged by the wisdom of Kael Dorin, whose spirit continued to watch over the Jedi through the ages. Though his name is seldom spoken, Kael Dorin's legacy endures. He was the first to show that true mastery of the Force comes not from domination, but from harmony. He proved that one light, no matter how small, can push back the darkness, and he showed that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope can prevail. In every Jedi who chooses the path of peace, in every act of compassion that ripples through the Force, the spirit of Kael Dorin lives on. He is the unseen guide, the silent guardian, the prime Jedi whose wisdom shaped the destiny of the galaxy and whose light will never fade.